They got it right. I'm floored. They got it right?
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, we're here. We're here. The first ever 12-team college football playoff bracket has been released. They got it right. We'll talk a little bit more about why, how, what they can do to fix this. Where are the upsets? All of those things coming on this episode, this live episode, this instant reaction episode of College Football Smothered and Covered. We are sponsored by FanDuel. The playoff is coming up. You bet your first $5. If you win it, you get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and it's the right time to start because we have all of these matchups set. It starts in 2 weeks on home campuses. We're going to have playoff games on campus. It's going to be phenomenal. So here we are. Here we go. Playoff bracket. There you see that number 11 seed right there in the bottom right corner. SMU gets the nod over Alabama with ACC champ Clemson coming in at number 12. SMU deserves this, folks. SMU deserves this. I'm stunned that the committee got this right. The Alabama brand carries weight. Now, they're not supposed to care about brand, but we all know that they do. And yes, Alabama has a great win over Georgia. There's no doubt about that. They also have some inexcusable losses. The loss to Oklahoma, specifically how they lost to Oklahoma with very little effort, was too much to overcome. Same with the Vanderbilt loss. It's a little bit more acceptable because Vandy is not Vandy, but that's unacceptable too. Whereas SMU ran the table in the ACC, played their way into a chance to lose on a walk-off field goal. And you're supposed to punish them for that? Absolutely not. You can't punish them for playing their way into a chance to lose. You can't do that. They got it right. If you were to knock SMU out, why would you go play conference championship games if you're on the bubble? Why? There'd be no reason. If you're on the bubble, everyone gets the black lung pop. Doesn't play. Then you can't play your way out. So they did the right thing. And like I said, I am floored. I am floored. Now, we can sit here and talk about great wins, strength of schedule, all that other stuff. You still have to win the games. You still have to win the games. Yeah, strength of schedule is great for Alabama. You lost to, you shouldn't lose. That matters. And now you look at what SMU, what their feather in the cap is. The win over Duke? Yeah, maybe. That's not great. But at least they get the job done. At least they don't lose to lesser competition. BYU is equal. Maybe a little bit behind SMU now, since Kevin Jennings is the starting quarterback for the SMU Mustangs. If they go back and play that game with Jennings as the starting quarterback, I don't think there's much of a challenge. I don't think there's a chance BYU stays in that game. And then a loss to a team that made the playoff. I'm stunned. Now, I heard Nick Saban say that why do you schedule hard games if you're going to be punished for it? I don't think that's accurate at all. I don't think Alabama was punished for playing tough teams and having a hard strength of schedule. They were punished because they're not very good. They're not good enough to make the college football playoff in this landscape. We talked about this on SiriusXM, myself, Fozzie Whitaker, and Rick Neuheisel. We talked about this morning about what Vegas would put as the line between SMU and Alabama on a neutral site. Coach said 3.5. Fozzie said 6. I think it'd be basically a pick 'em. I don't think if Alabama would be favored in that situation, to me, it would be by virtue of the fact that it's Alabama. And that would be the end of the analysis. A lot of public money would be going on the Alabama side. Why? SMU is incredible offensively, and defensively they've been solid, and they haven't played down to their competition. And really, that's what this comes down to, right? Do you go with the team with the higher ceiling or the higher floor? Alabama's ceiling is probably higher. The talent alone makes Alabama's ceiling a lot higher. They beat Georgia, obviously, but their floor is so low. SMU, their floor is incredibly high. On their bad days, which was Saturday night, they still find a way to scratch and claw and tie a game with 16 seconds left. That matters. That matters to me. And especially in a season like this where everybody sort of got warts except Oregon. So they got it right. I'm stunned that they got it right. Josh Barton, glad to see SMU in. I think a lot of people are feeling that same way. Let's take a look at this bracket again. Now, I don't think there's any shock about the top four with Boise State at 3, Arizona 4. Aside from the SMU-Alabama thing, I am a little shocked that Clemson is 12. If you're going to put SMU at 11, shouldn't Clemson be ahead of them? I mean, shouldn't SMU be 12? That's the one thing I thought was interesting. Now, if you watched the show late last night, you saw I had Clemson 10, Indiana 11, and SMU 12. I guess you basically say, you know what? Consider that game a tie. SMU had a better regular season, so give SMU the nod over Clemson. And they say they don't engineer matchups. I kind of look at this and think, you know what? They might have engineered a matchup. Because Clemson, Texas is going to be rough. If you're SMU, would you rather play Texas or would you rather play Penn State? I think it's pretty clear you would rather play Penn State. So maybe they are rewarding SMU with that. But in reality, normally would have put Clemson in ahead of them since they won the heads-up matchup in that game. All right. Where's the upset? Where's the upset in round one? I think Ohio State, Tennessee, we'll talk about that one in a second. I think Ohio State, Tennessee is going to be the most interesting game. But the upset is that 11-6 game. Penn State, look, Penn State last night was way better than I expected. I did not think, and I do not think, that Penn State is as dynamic offensively as they showed last night. I think maybe Oregon just kind of got caught up in it. I think Penn State, that was the exception, not the rule. They're not going to go out there and go 30+ every single week. And I think with this SMU team is they're going to do a lot of what Oregon did. Force Penn State into a track meet. They did a pretty good job of hanging with Oregon. I think they'll do a pretty good job of hanging with SMU. But in the end, you saw what SMU does. They wear down their opponent, plays, tempo, all that stuff. Can Penn State handle that? I don't think so. Now, I know you look at Penn State, you say, cold weather game. Cold weather. Nonsense. Nobody likes playing in cold weather. Nobody likes playing in cold weather. So what does it matter? What does it matter? It doesn't. If you are on the field as a defense for what? 80 plays? You're going to get worn down no matter hot, no matter how cold, no matter what the rain is, no matter if it's clear, does not matter. And I think that's what SMU can do. And I don't think Penn State will be able to keep up in that track meet. So that's the one upset in round one that I'm looking for. Tennessee, Ohio State. This is the biggest game of Ryan Day's career. No, it is not the national championship game during the COVID year. It is not The semifinal Peach Bowl against Georgia. The biggest game of Ryan Day's career is against Tennessee in round 1 in Columbus. I know he's been playoff games before. I get it. But the knives are out for Ryan Day. They're out for Ryan Day. After what happened last weekend against Michigan, there are plenty of folks who want to get rid of him right now. And there are a lot of other folks that say, oh, let's just see what happens in the national championship. Let's just see what happens in the playoff. Well, if you lose in front of your home crowd, when all of the rivalry over everything crowd already hates you, then you might not last. You might not last. So I know there's been some hot takes about Ryan Day getting fired. I think they're legitimate. I've brought some of them, but I think they're legitimate. If you get into a situation now, if you're Ryan Day, and you lose 2 straight times on your home field, one to a Michigan team that does not know how to administer a forward pass, and then you lose to Tennessee, when the knock on you already is that you're not a big game coach. Gone. Can't keep him. Gone. Absolutely cannot keep him. So that is the most, I know a national championship on the line, but there are ancillary storylines all over this, right? That's the one that I think stands out more than anything else. What will happen if Ryan Day loses that 8-9 matchup in Columbus against a really good Tennessee team? Will it happen? We'll pick those games next. It's college football smothered and covered. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. Let me tell you what, Omaha Steaks, we do steaks on Christmas instead of turkey now. Omaha Steaks is my go-to, and it's been my go-to essentially for the last couple of decades since they came into existence. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like an unrivaled quality of an Omaha steak. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks, mouth-watering desserts, and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off when you use the promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com, OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with you promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. All right, let's make some picks. First round, let's make some picks. Look, Tennessee, Ohio State. I know Tennessee does not get off to the best starts. In fact, perhaps only Georgia is worse at getting off to early starts than Tennessee. I've said for a long time, I think Josh Heupel views Nico Iamaleava as a little bit of a liability rather than a strength, and they've coached around him for the majority of the season. With that said, they can tote the rock, man. They absolutely can tote the rock. I think you're going to be limited possessions in this one. I don't necessarily trust that Ohio State offensive line because we know they've been fighting through some injuries. So we're talking about empty possessions. Who has more empty possessions? And to me, I think it will be Ohio State. I think it'll be an ugly game. I think it'll be low scoring. I don't care what the weather it is. I think this game's going to be played inside of a telephone booth. That suits Tennessee better because of its rushing attack, which is crazy considering the talent in that running back room for Ohio State. But I think Dylan Sampson has proved this year that Tennessee's offensive line, Tennessee's rushing attack, Tennessee's scheme better than Ohio State's. So give me Tennessee in that first round matchup. Clemson, Texas, in Austin. Should be a fun one. Now, I said this yesterday in the instant reaction show that I do think Clemson is a little bit more of a threat than folks realize. because we saw Wesco sort of evolve as a star throughout the course of the season. We know Antonio Williams has been there. And Cade Klubnik, I mean, I'm like on a pendulum with him. I'm off the bandwagon. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm off the bandwagon. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm on it now. I'm on it now. He looked good. He looked great against SMU. Now, SMU did some things in the second half to take some shots away from him. I get that, but he did okay. Made a few mistakes, but whatever. Now they have 2 weeks to clean this up. They have 2 weeks to build off of what this offense can be. They've got 2 weeks to get healthy in the running back room, which is huge. Because honestly, watching that game last night, I was shocked that they were even in it in the second half. There was no secret what they could do. They couldn't run the football, and they still hung in that game. And hung in, I mean, they were in the crosshairs. That end of the third quarter, early fourth quarter, they were in the crosshairs. They were one-dimensional by necessity. They still found a way to get it done. Will Clemson beat Texas? No. Will it be a very close game? Lines have not come out as of 1:20 Eastern time when we are doing this live show. If it's anything under a touchdown, I'm on Clemson, man. I'm on Clemson. I saw Texas yesterday. They can't run the football. I don't think Quinn Ewers is healthy. Even though he had a great day statistically, I still think that he's so inconsistent with how he operates. I don't trust him. I actually don't trust Quinn Ewers more than I don't trust Cade Klubnik, which is not something I thought I'd be saying at this point. I think Texas gets the win. I think it will be a field goal game, and Clemson will have the ball late with a chance to win. Indiana, Notre Dame. This is going to get ugly. This is going to get ugly. I do not buy into the Indiana hype. I do think their success was due to strength of schedule more than anything else. And what do we call Notre Dame? What do we call Notre Dame on this show? What do I call them on SiriusXM? What do I call them with stories on Outkick? They are the best, most boring team in college football. They run the ball effectively with Jeremiah Love. They've gotten better on both lines of scrimmage. Riley Leonard's healthy. They've got receivers outside. They use the tight end effectively. They're a complete football team. In fact, I would say that they're the second most complete football team in this field. They just don't have the upside as a lot of the others. But Indiana, man, I don't see them moving the football on this Notre Dame team. I think this is going to be a game where it's kind of like, not necessarily a heavyweight fight. I think more important, it's going to be one of those games where Notre Dame doesn't feel like it has to do anything. So even in the first quarter and a half, if Indiana lands some body blows, it's not going to faze Marcus Freeman. So give me Notre Dame pulling away late. And again, I don't know what the line is right now. They're not out as of 123. At least I haven't been able to look because I've been talking to you guys because I love you guys. But I think Notre Dame puts that away. I think that's a double-digit win for the Fighting Irish. The last one, SMU Penn State in the first round. I'm going with it, man. I'm going with the ponies. I'm going with SMU. They can run the ball effectively. They have 2 weeks to get healthy. They've got a fantastic quarterback. They've got to figure out their offensive line. That's the one problem against Penn State. They've got to figure out that offensive line. They did a great job of masking that in the second half, which I think was the biggest reason why they got back in the game in the second half, was that they worked their way around their deficiencies, which clearly was the offensive line. Is Penn State's front seven better than Clemson's? I'd say it's about comparable, which is a huge compliment. But we know SMU can work around their problems. I'll take that upset. I'll take that upset. SMU gets the win against Penn State and moves on to the second round to play Boise State. We'll talk a little bit about some things that are wrong with this bracket. Some things that are wrong with the system. We'll do that next. It's College Football Smothered and Covered. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. You know we love FanDuel. FanDuel is our baby here, the one that pays all the bills. We love FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and right now they're offering a special. If you bet $5, and you know you're going to want to because there are a lot of big games coming up, if you only bet $5 and you win it, they'll give you $150 in bonus bets. It's crazy, right? You bet one $5 bet, they'll give you $150 guaranteed. And the beauty about FanDuel, guys, is that everything is right there for you. So if you get a hunch in the middle of a game and you think, you know what, the Falcons might blow this, because as a Falcons fan, generally does happen. You can see all those live stats, play-by-play right there. You can place a bet live. It's all there for you at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. How do we make this better? You guys know I absolutely hate the 14 playoff. I'm sorry, the 12-team playoff. Didn't like the 14 playoff. Really don't like the 12-team playoff. And if you're watching and you're not listening, you see this great man with the cardboard box meme. It says the BCS would be a perfect fit this year in college football. The BCS would be a perfect fit this year in college football. Just saying, look at that bracket. What do you see? You see 1 Oregon and you see number 2 Georgia. 3 and 4 get thrown in. Don't worry about Boise State, Arizona State. 5 Texas. We've seen that matchup with Georgia twice. 6 Penn State. We just saw that matchup with Oregon. Why on earth do we need to draw this out? Oregon, Georgia in a BCS championship game. That's all you need. It's the perfect season and the perfect representation of why the BCS was so good. Now, I know it's money. It's never going to happen. And I've lost that political election. We talk about it all the time. I'm not going to get back on my soapbox as much as I used to. Not going to pound my fist like Grandpa Simpson, yelling at the clouds. Not going to do it. I want to do it, but I'm not going to do it. Like a politician, I will support the party for the greater good of the country. And the greater good of the country is a popular, healthy, highly rated college football system, college football in general. But man, the BCS would be so good. But that's not the only problem that needs to be fixed here. Texas has got the best setup in this whole tournament. You look at where Texas is. They get the worst team in the field. Then they get Arizona State, the worst of the top 4. I'm not saying that's a slight of Arizona. Like, that's what they think of you. I think that Arizona State's actually better than Boise. And in my predictions, if you saw this last night, I put that Arizona State should be 3 and not 4. But the committee thinks you're 4. So Texas plays the worst team in the field with Clemson. That's what they say, not me. They play the worst conference champion with a bye, and that's Arizona State. Again, that's what they say, not me. And then at that point, you get Oregon if there was an upset with Tennessee and Ohio State. You get that team, an 8 or 9 seed. As opposed to Georgia at number 2. If chalk holds, they'll get Notre Dame. Notre Dame in round 2. And Notre Dame is what? The best, most consistently boring football team in the entire sport. Best being the most operative word, because when they're down, they still can kick your tail. And Georgia, when they're down, they're not that good. So the number 2 seed is in a bad spot. The number 1 seed, Oregon, what if they play Ohio State? We know what their upside is. What if they play Tennessee in the second round? We know what Tennessee can do. So the 5th spot is actually the best spot to be in, certainly of the teams that don't get buys, but I would argue with some of the teams that do get buys. Same thing with 11-6. SMU or Penn State's going to play Boise State. Now, it's going to be on the blue turf. I get it. I understand that part. But is anybody really that scared of Boise State? I'm just going to throw this out there. If you shut down Ashton Genty, which again, hard to do, but if you do it enough, just enough, like keep him at 150 yards. If you do it enough, you can win relatively easily. So it's odd that we see this. And this is a simple fix, y'all. This is a simple fix. All you have to do is remove the Power 4 champion. I'm sorry, the 5 conference champion system with 4 top seeds going to the 4 best conference champions. Why on, like, I hate automatic bids anyway. Automatic bids in any sport are stupid, but especially in our sport, in college football. These aren't necessarily automatic bids, but it's the same principle, right? It's the same principle. Why don't you just take the top 4 teams? Doesn't matter where. They could all be from the Mountain West. They could be from the Sun Belt for all I care. Doesn't matter where they come from. Put the 4 best teams, reward the 4 best teams with buys. Is Arizona State, have they done anything to deserve a bye? Not really. They look great against Iowa State. But come on. Boise State, do they really? No, come on now. Simple fix. Simple fix. Just remove that part of the process altogether. There are no automatic buys. You just put the top 4 teams in there. That's it. That's it. There's my guy again. The BCS would be perfect this year in college football. Truly believe that. Truly, truly believe that. All right, we're going to pick a national champion. Early national champion. I'm going to go chalk. Give me Oregon. Is it going to be over Georgia? No. Oregon over Notre Dame. Early lean. Oregon over Notre Dame. It would be a neutral site game. If Notre Dame wins, they'd get a neutral site game with Georgia in New Orleans. It wouldn't be at the Peach Bowl. It would be in New Orleans. Now that, my friends, is a great equalizer because you know the Catholics going down to New Orleans. You know it. On New Year's Eve. Holy party. Pun very much not intended. Oregon over Notre Dame. That's my early pick. Pick it apart if you wish, as you should, because this is sports and we are supposed to have fun. Hey, sign up below. Subtext group. Become a college football smothered and covered insider. Thank you for making this your first listen. For your second listen, go listen to Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On College Football. You can also check out our conference channels, all of our team channels. A lot going on the network today. As for what's coming tomorrow, talk a little bit more about the college football playoff. There's a lot going on, so we're here for you every single day. Have a great one, everybody.